Sometimes research or business needs require you to collect data that's location specific. For example, a field researcher might want to track where she's seen certain species, or a market analyst might want to see if there's a correlation between where people live and their responses to a survey. In such cases, it's often informative to display this information directly on a map. Google Maps makes it very easy to visually display your data. All you need is a Gmail or Google Apps account. Your first step in the process is going to be to create a spreadsheet, like the one that I've shown here, with the data, where one of the columns is the location information. As you can see, your location can be listed either as a specific address or, as in this case, as a latitude and longitude pair. Once your data is ready, you'll log into your Gmail account or your Google Apps account and go to maps.google.com. From here, click on My Places and select the Create Map button. So I have a base map here. Once it finishes loading, of Singapore, I'm going to add a title for my map. Hit Save. And now I'm ready to import my data and create a new layer over the top of my base map that displays the information in my spreadsheet. So we'll hit Import. And then because my data is on the Google Drive, I can just open my drive and select the spreadsheet, and it will import the data for me. Now the first thing it asks me to select is to choose the column where that contains the information where I want the place marks or pins dropped. That, of course, is in my location column. I'll select Continue. And then how do I want those pins labeled? Well, for my purposes, I'd like to see the common name for the animals. Hit Finish. And it should load the layer. Okay, so here are all of the pins for the various animal sightings. Now, Google does tell me that there was one row in my data that it couldn't put a pin for. I can very easily open my data, and it flags that there was a problem with this entry. It couldn't find that position on the map. I happen to know that the problem here is that this location isn't specific enough. So I can go right in here and edit this entry. And that should, when I refresh this, drop an additional pin to display that entry. I can close this now. Now it's important to note the revisions that I made here on this version of the data are not reflected in the original spreadsheet. I need to go back into my drive and edit that entry later separately. But for now, at least this shows where I saw that particular species. Google also affords you a number of options here when it comes to the way the pins are presented. I can click on Style, and now instead of having one pin for each specific animal, I can group the animals. So let's say I'd like to have all of my pigeons show up as one pin. So I selected Style, and instead of having individual styles, I'm going to say Style by Data Column in Common Name for the animal. So now the two pigeons that I saw, those pins show up as green. The one macaque that I saw shows up as this darker color of greenish blue, and so on. And if I don't like these pin colors, I can easily go in and edit the pin color for a specific animal. And that change will be reflected on the map. So there's my map showing the various animal sightings. Now, there is one very important limitation to this particular method, and that is that if I edit the data in my spreadsheet, those changes will not be reflected in this particular map. In this particular map. I would need to go back in and delete this layer and recreate the layer to include new data that was entered in my original spreadsheet. But otherwise, this is a fairly straightforward method for being able to visually display your data.